We hear a lot about the dangers of seniors catching COVID-19. We can't forget the millions of Americans with compromised immune systems. Fox News reporter Kim Posey knows all too well the danger.
Yeah, I'm working from home today, and I interviewed my sister using FaceTime about her decision to self-quarantine.
Hey, you look super glam for quarantine.
This is my sister, Lawton Cummings, showing me her current living situation.
I moved in on Thursday to self-quarantine.
Lottie, as we call her, moved into a neighbor's guest house in Austin last week to try and protect herself from COVID-19. She's living with metastatic breast cancer and takes oral chemotherapy.
I'm immunocompromised, so I knew that I needed to be isolated before the peak. Craig and the kids can come visit with me.
She's making the most of it. Her husband and 2 kids come to visit her outside and stay 10 to 15 feet away from her. One friend came over and they sat outside with distance between them. Lottie can FaceTime with our mom, and she is currently working remotely.
So today is day 4 of my self-quarantine.
She knows it's worth it because she cannot fight off this virus the way healthy people can.
It's actually a much higher risk of both becoming critical and needing a ventilator and death.
Over FaceTime, this oncologist with Presbyterian St. Luke's Medical Center in Denver said he is glad patients are taking precautions.
They need to be super cautious and take extra measurements, precautionary measurements, to avoid contacting any person with possible infection.
But he and my sister hope the rest of us will do what we can.
I am fine, but there's a lot of people who won't be. And so we need to minimize how many people go to the hospital at once.
Lottie hopes everyone will do their part.